Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, Patrick. You're on.
baby.
You're
Oh
up,
my God.
baby.
You're listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, we sure do.
Oh, yeah. We're going to teach you. We're going to teach
yeah.
you. For the folks at home, obviously that's not Kenyan. Who are you?
Hello, my name is Patrick Hinds. I'm like, my biggest claim to fame is that I once got to carry merch or something for you guys at CrimeCon.
You did do that.
I carried
did
all
do
your
that.
stuff to you. I was so excited to meet you that I literally met you at the door of Podcasters Row and carried your bags to your table. You're like, you don't have to do that. I was like, yes, I do.
Also, our table was like 6 feet from the door.
Yeah.
So you were so enthusiastic and so helpful on that last 6 feet. Thank you so
Wait,
much.
New Orleans
So
or
welcome.
Nashville?
That was the
Nashville.
Nashville
I
one.
think, right,
in
yeah.
the big Opryland hotel thing.
Yes.
God,
Where
I
you're never
love that.
outside, but they try to make you think you're outside.
It's like Vegas. It's
Yep.
very confusing.
Very disorienting.
You never know what time it is.
No, you're right about that.
Yeah, it's not great. It's
Yeah,
not great.
It's not great.
It's not great. Well, thank
Apart
you
from
so
that
much
claim to fame.
for
Yeah.
carrying those.
My pledge. My pledge.
So Patrick comes to us from True Crime Obsessed.
among many other things.
yes.
True Crime Obsessed is like the matriarch of all of this incredible work that y'all are doing right now.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have the Obsessed Network. So we have, we have true crime podcasts that are kind of in the same vein, but kind of not. So like True Crime Obsessed is the first one. It's with me and Jillian. There's a show called Obsessed with Disappeared where Ellen and Joey recap episodes of Disappeared. And then we have Crimes of the Centuries hosted by Amber Hunt, which some of you may know as like just a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. She is also the host of the Accused. Just. And then we have what's it called? What's Strange and Unexplained with Daisy Egan.
Yes.
Which is like a fun, sassy take on like what is it's sort of paranormal, but it's also just like things that don't have like unsolved crimes and murders and things.
I love unsolved things.
Yeah, that's like Lucy's favorite shit.
Yeah.
My
me too.
ADHD riddled brain needs like a nice ending with a bow.
You and Jillian are the same. It's the reason I am in this world at all is because of like the mystery and the puzzles.
No.
But then I'll just say so I don't get in trouble. Our other two podcasts are Murder and Alliance, hosted by Maggie Freeling, and Unjust and Unsolved, also hosted by Maggie Freeling.
So amazing, everying that y'all are doing.
Yes.
Thank you
You're
so
fucking
much.
crushing.
We're so thrilled to have you here. And Lucy,
I
who
love
are
you.
you?
Oh, well, that's Patrick. I'm Lucy.
I'm
Host
Amanda.
of one podcast.
We don't have a list of accomplishments to share with you at the top of this episode.
Yes, you do.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We're incredible.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep. We're
I'm
amazing.
not just a Pulitzer Prize winning
I'm
journalist.
so much
Exactly.
more than just a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist with flies in her office. Our other co-hosts today are the flies. So welcome to that.
3 flies, 5 flies.
I'm especially happy to be here with the flies.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. So, Lucy, what are we
an honor.
talking about today? You want to introduce our topic?
Oh my gosh. Well, today we have a very special fan pick brought to us by Emily Spindler, who actually wants to dedicate the episode to us.
To us.
I love this. It's very Casey Kasem. She should dedicate the app.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes folks will dedicate the episode to their best friend, their partner.
It's their anniversary.
Yeah,
it's
the
my
person
wife's
who
birthday,
introduced
blah,
them
blah,
to
blah.
wine and crime, their gateway gal. But you know what? We're taking this one, Emily.
Yeah.
And we are fucking awesome. So congratulations to us.
And Emily thought of a really fucking fun topic that we have not covered yet, and that topic is CIA crimes.
Y'all,
my
the CIA
Lord.
is crazy.
Yeah. I'm so
And-
fucking excited for this. So, shall we just jump right in with Amanda's wine crime pairing?
Yes, we shall. I have chosen today another selection from our friends over at Winc Wine Club. And if you are not familiar with Winc Wine Club, they're an online wine club that delivers wine directly to your door. Literally the greatest invention known to man. It was like the wheel, sliced bread, and then Winc Wine Club. It was like those three.
Vaccines.
Vaccine.
Yeah.
For sure. Shout out to vaccines, but mostly shout out to Winc Wine Club. And they have an incredible rotating inventory. So while we have featured a wine of this name before, I don't know if we haven't featured this specific one, not this varietal and not this vintage. So I'm very excited about it. And if you'd like to try Winc out for yourself, head to trywinc.com. That's TRYWINC.com/gals to get $20 off your first box. It's totally worth it. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Do you all get a ton of free wine?
Oh, I mean, sometimes. Yes and no. Our budget for wine through the company is bigger than it should be.
Yeah.
But it is an office supply expense.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Our tax person said,
Yeah.
we don't make the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We don't make the rules.
For today's episode, I am pairing the Far and Wide Zweigelt, which is an Austrian grape varietal. And I picked Far and Wide because I feel like it reflects the reach of the CIA.
It sure does.
Which is like really creepy. It's too far and too wide. And this is the 2020 vintage. I'm just going to read you some fun facts that they have on the back of their label. This says, Far and Wide explores varietals from the far reaches of the globe, just like the CIA. Like Zweigelt, the most widely planted red wine grape in Austria. So this is like Austria's Cabernet.
Okay.
This is their grape, baby. This is complex while still being lighter in body and bursting with red fruit. It is a quintessential expression of this fresh and elegant grape. So you can see it's going to have some similarities to a Cabernet, but it's going to be a lighter and I think even more like food-friendly wine than a Cabernet. Because Cabernet can get to be a little bit too much of a palate blaster if you're, not getting the good stuff. She's 13.1 ABV, so you could drink pretty much a whole bottle and obviously not drive, but not be like calling your exes.
Lit.
Yeah.
That's a really good barometer of like how much booze is in the wine.
Right.
You're not going to give yourself bangs.
Right. You're not going to give yourself bangs, but do not operate a motor vehicle. She's
You're not going to try gay stuff for the first time.
I mean, you
Well,
might.
maybe.
You know what I mean? You might. You never know. It is a sexy wine.
I don't
after
need
all.
much wine to try gay stuff for. Certainly not the first time. Not even fucking close to the first time.
Yeah.
She's also a popper, so we're going to get a fun sound effect here. Are you ready to hear this?
I can't wait.
Oh my God. I didn't put on lotion, so I nailed it. Here we go.
Yes.
That's a nice pap
That was
right
an
there.
excellent pop.
I love it.
Is anyone else drinking today or no? Is it just me?
I guess I forgot. I should have brought something to drink. I'm just curious if, like the CIA, that wine can also not investigate crimes within the United States.
Oh my God.
He's right. That was one of my fun facts.
Ooh,
I gotta tell you, I heard that fact for the second time today. I was listening to the lady who took over for Rachel Maddow. She's got like her own show and it's a podcast. And they were talking about all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. And they were talking about the CIA. And that was where I first heard today that the CIA can't investigate crimes in the United States.
It's
and then
true.
I read it in the outline for this episode.
Well, there you go. Well,
Because that's the FBI's job.
Yes.
let's get to some more fun facts then. Lucy, what's our background in psych about CIA crimes? If there might be psych. I have psych.
There's not, so I gotta shake my bones.
Oh, shake your bones. There's no psych. Okay.
Patrick?
Patrick is
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is going on?
Are
These
we
are
shaking
snake
bones?
ribs. These are snake
Oh my
ribs.
God.
These are dog teeth. Or maybe these are
Yes.
goat teeth. These are some kind of tooth.
Whoa, that one's really sharp.
I know.
Fancy.
The teeth are
Sharp
heavier.
sound. Yeah.
And then we have an assortment, again, from Kayla.
So when Lucy does the background in psychology portion of our show, if there is indeed no psychology, she shakes a jar of bones. It's become a thing that we do that I don't remember why we do it. Yeah.
I don't remember why either.
No, it's fine.
Because I got a bunch of goat tail bones from my friend Greg, and I didn't have anywhere to put them, so I put them in a jar, and they happened to be in my office, and then I was just shaking them, and
What's
we
your
liked
friend
it.
Greg's deal? He sounds like a weirdo.
He owns and operates a hunting farm. just
Wow.
south of Des Moines. And he also has his own shop called Greg's Bones, I think. But he does a lot of taxidermy.
Good
Wow.
for him.
He currently has a lion head in his kitchen.
Luck.
Greg.
Yeah. Oh,
Greg,
he's fantastic. I have a lot of his pieces. Actually, Patrick, I just followed you on Instagram about an hour ago because I realized I wasn't following you previously. So
Oh my God.
you can check out my Instagram and see all my
I will.
articulated skeletons.
Welcome to a bunch of pictures of my kid.
Oh my God. So cute though. Love.
Thank you.
Oh, Miss Daisy.
Miss Daisy.
Oh, God bless.
Sassafras.
Cutie. Okay, so from Wikipedia, the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA,
I love that you have the pronunciation in your notes of
That was a straight
CIA.
cut and copy paste from Wikipedia.
I'm obsessed and I love it. and I
I'll leave it
want
in.
like a t-shirt that just says that on
The
it.
CIA. Known informally as the agency and historically and informally as the company.
So do you think that Mauricio and Kyle Richards like sued the CIA for using the agency because that's what the name of their real estate company is?
Well, that was informal.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. That answers my question.
Yeah.
They probably didn't sue then.
They'd probably have more grounds to sue the Culinary Institute of America because they also go by the CIA, but
True.
I mean, that would be like a corporate identity. I don't think a government agency falls under that category.
Fine.
I gotta say too, the company is like a way sexier name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's
The
so
company.
mysterious.
Yeah, the agency.
Exactly.
Especially when spies are talking amongst themselves, like the company.
Totally.
Hot. So, the company is a civilian foreign intelligence service of the federal government of the United States, officially tasked with gathering, processing, and analyzing national security information from around the world, far and wide, one might
If you
say.
will, and I will.
Primarily through the use of human intelligence, which is shortened to HUMINT.
I loved that. I read that. I was like, human.
HUMINT.
No, I hate it. As someone who likes mint in a cocktail, I'm really going to have a hard time getting past humint now every time I'm muddling.
You know what they should sell at the Temple of Ek in Chanhassen, where their love song to God is singing Hugh, H-U. When you leave, you should get a free Hugh mint on your way out.
Totally.
Like an after-dinner mint, an after-prayer mint.
Wow. Definitely call the Temple of Ek and make that incredibly good suggestion.
I will.
And then let me know how that goes.
Okay, I'll call. And they also perform covert actions. Its motto is, quote, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free."
Okay. Drama queens at the
I know.
CIA.
I know.
Honest to God.
Wow.
So here's a bit from my lover Encyclopedia Britannica. The CIA is the principal foreign intelligence and counterintelligence agency of the U.S. government. Formally created in 1947, the CIA grew out of the World War II Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS. Previous U.S. intelligence and counterintelligence efforts had been conducted by the military and the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Ever heard of it?
Federal Biscuit Investigator.
Oh, I'm realizing at 2:30 in the afternoon as I drink this glass of wine,
You haven't eaten
I
yet today.
have eaten one. It's Halloween candy season in our house because it's after
yeah.
September 1st.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've had Halloween candy Twix Kit Kat, and I've had a Halloween candy Reese's, and that's it.
Wait, are you stocking up because you're afraid like the Walgreens is gonna run out and you won't have anything to give out, or you just like you like to buy it and eat it?
She just wants
There
to
it
eat it
is.
for breakfast.
There it
Wow. Yeah. I
is. You
gotta
got
tell
there
you,
on your own. Yep.
I know. The candy corns are arriving on the shelves earlier and earlier
I know.
every year.
And unlike the early arrival of Christmas, which does harm me personally, the early arrival of Halloween, love it. Welcome
Yeah.
it. Bring it on. Like
such a short season.
August who? I don't fucking care about her at
Also,
all.
like, somebody tell me why we have pumpkin spice lattes and not like caramel and not candy corn lattes. So, like, wouldn't you drink the shit out of that?
I mean,
Ooh,
no,
I
I wouldn't.
No?
And
I'm not a candy corn gal.
I am a candy corn gal, but I don't think I would drink a candy corn latte. But I totally love and admire your entrepreneurial spirit, and I hope that you can launch this endeavor successfully.
So dibs
Coming
on
soon from-
humans.
Coming
You
soon
got
from the
candy
Obsessed
corn
Network.
I was gonna say, the obsessed candy corn
Obsessed
latte.
with candy corn. The newest latte at your local Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah. Oh my God. Look.
Oh.
I don't go anywhere without her.
Honey, I saw that immediately and was like, fuck, I love Dunkin'. I spent
Do you?
just like one day in Boston a week or so ago just to see my family.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ashley, my sister, I'm like, Dunkin' drive-thru, let's go. Because we like
Of course.
don't have them in the Midwest. We have like
Oh
one.
no.
I know. We have Caribou here, which is really great, but Dunkin' Donuts has so much more to offer.
I was gonna say the point is that it's bad. It's like Caribou. I'm sure you're delicious. Dunkin's an experience.
No,
a
it's the
lifestyle.
McDonald's of coffee.
Is
and
it like
it's
a
so
Waffle
fucking
House?
good. Yes,
Yeah,
but with
totally.
a drive-through.
Okay.
Yeah, it smells like Dunkin'.
I'm sorry, and their food options are like incredible.
They really are. You can't tell me a bacon, egg, and cheese on a toasted everything bagel isn't what you want every morning.
Every fucking morning.
Yeah,
With
I'm
a
so
side of
out of
candy
my
corn.
element.
I
I've never
talk
been
about
to a
Dunkin'.
Dunkin'.
every day. You've never been to a Dunkin'?
We don't
That's
have
not
them
a-
here,
that-
and
I
I
know-
don't drink coffee.
I'm with you on the squealing, but it's not weird for people in the Midwest who have never been to a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm originally from the East Coast, so
Wow.
like it's part of our lifestyle.
I love that you have to like defend
You do.
your
I
brethren.
do. I do. Like we can buy the Dunkin' Donuts like Keurig cups at our
Yeah.
grocery store, but we like don't have Dunkin' Donuts here. We have like 2 locations, maybe 1. I know. It's really sad. It's really
Wow.
sad. We're missing out. It's a whole cultural thing that we don't get to be a part of.
You know,
in the Midwest.
I learned this information and the Queen dies in the same week. It's just been a lot. It's just been a lot for me this week.
Yeah, take a rest. Take a
know what
rest,
I
and
mean?
we'll
Thank you
talk
so
to you
much.
more
Give
about the
your-
CIA.
Yeah.
Give yourself some grace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give yourself some grace,
totally.
Patrick. Give yourself some grace.
I love that phrase. What does it even mean? I don't know. I say it all the
Give yourself
time.
some grace.
Just be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
America runs on Dunkin'. Anyway,
Yes.
you.
Okay, so blah, blah, blah. FBI. Previous intelligence efforts had been conducted by the military and the FBI and suffered from duplication, competition, just like they were way bitchy to each other.
and
And
infighting.
yes, and lack of coordinations, problems that continued to some degree into the 21st century. So the US was actually way late to the counterintelligence game. Information, like I just said, was all over the place. It was being collected by the Office of Naval Intelligence, the U.S. Army Intelligence, and the FBI. So, like, it isn't like the Army and the Navy are already like, and like all these different branches.
There was
and-
no like one main spot for all the sensitive shit.
But
Can I-
also, they were keeping shit from each other just because they didn't like each
Out
other's
of spite.
agencies.
Yeah.
So this is what I was gonna say. Like, we figured out how to centralize like top secret information. Great. Can we now take that and apply it to like murder investigations? Wouldn't that
I
be
know.
nice?
Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be so
You know what I
great?
mean?
Yeah.
Yes?
Like, I guess the point is we now know it can be done. So
Right.
let's just go ahead and do it.
On a massive scale.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
to a degree. There is still a little bit of rivalry. I'll kind of get to it, but
Sure.
it's like, it used to be way bad and way not productive for, our operations.
Yeah.
Okay, so no one was sharing information with each other, and sometimes information wasn't even being passed up the chain to the president, for example. Well, here's your example. Because of rivalries between Army and Navy intelligence offices, which did not want to jeopardize the security of their own information, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt was not given sensitive information about Japan in the months leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor in
Great.
1941.
Hmm.
So, like, it was detrimental.
Not good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not great.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
fucked
honestly,
up.
how many people died?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably it would be reasonable to say that could have been prevented to some degree
Mm-hmm.
had the communications been not so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So obvi, this needed to be remedied. In June of 1942, Roosevelt created the OSS, what did I say it was called? It was like the World War II version of the CIA,
Mm-hmm.
the Office of Strategic Services, putting a very, shall we say, creative man named William J. Wild Bill Donovan in
Oh,
charge.
yikes. You don't want the nickname as someone who's marrying a William. You don't want a man who's like a higher up in the government to go by Wild Bill.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's
But
a red
this was-
flag there.
This was FDR. This was him. This was his man. So Donovan had a lot of ideas. For example, he supported the use of exotic poisons against enemy targets and also once proposed the use of bats to deliver incendiary weapons against Japan.
Wow.
He's a
I mean, I guess
creative man.
Points
You-
for
you don't know it-
creativity.
Right. You don't know it doesn't work till you try it once.
Right.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly.
again, hearkening back to gay sex in college.
Exactly. You don't buy a dress without trying it on, and you
Exactly.
gotta try on a lot of dresses to know what dresses you like.
Yeah.
Right.
You can like one dress and love the next one.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I like so many different dresses.
I got a closet full.
I have
Go
2
figure.
closets and 4 dresses. Are dressers. I like a lot of dresses.
Wow. I own 4 shirts.
Yeah, you're like my fiance.
Yeah. I'm going full Steve Jobs. I just ordered 6 black V-neck t-shirts from the Gap the other day. I'm like,
No.
I'll just wear that every day and then I never have to think about it ever again.
Go full Elizabeth What's-Her-Face and just start doing the black little mock
Totally.
turtleneck. Yeah.
Look,
Yeah. Well, she took that from Steve Jobs.
Worked for
Exactly.
her.
I got the personality sparkles. That's all the flair you're getting out of me. You know what I mean?
It's enough, I think.
Oh, and those
Some would argue more than enough.
and those stunning blue eyes of
healthy
yours.
dose.
I mean,
Yes,
come
thank
on.
you so much.
Yeah, you're always wearing a little dash of color.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't need a sassy shirt.
Yeah, you're good.
Right.
Feel
Thank
good.
you so much.
But if
anytime.
you do, you can get one at Wine and Crime Podcast at BigCartel.com.
Nice. Nicely done.
Okay, so despite an unorthodox leadership, the OSS was successful. So by the time the Allies invaded Normandy in 1944 with Amanda's grandpa at the helm, the OSS had about 500 agents working inside occupied France. So
Yeah.
it worked.
Big, yeah.
After the war, the OSS was dismantled, but Harry Truman, like the next guy, recognized the importance of a coordinated post-war intelligence establishment. So in 1947, Congress passed the National Security Act, which created the National Security Council, the NSC, which birthed the CIA.
From its loins.
Beautiful bouncing baby boy CIA.
Screaming and covered in excrement came the CIA.
Excrement.
Well, there's that blood and like that cheese that's on babies, that
but
cottage
excrement is
cheese.
poop.
Yeah, well, there's also
Viscera,
oftentimes that. Viscera.
Effluvia,
Flotsam
the truth of
and
the matter is-
jetsam.
These ladies sometimes are in labor for like 40 hours.
Yo,
yeah.
You know what I
I-
mean? And look, if you're a baby and you come out with some poop on you, you look at your mother and you say thank you.
Yeah, good
That was
luck.
hard.
Lucky
She just
you.
did.
Okay,
Yeah.
if Kenyon has taught us anything, it is that childbearing is a horrifying hellscape of extended torture, and we should
Yeah.
all be so lucky to have been born.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I honestly
a
don't know why
treat.
anybody has siblings. Like, why would anybody do that twice?
Why do people go back and do it again? I don't fucking get it. Hormones? Okay.
I know. I don't.
lack of access to healthcare, abort Abbott.
Okay.
Yes.
That I get. I mean the people who willingly go back and do it again.
Right.
The amount I bow down to women on
Ugh.
every single thing, the amount that like men could not handle, and I know I'm not like inventing this idea.
Oh, no.
But like if men
Hot
were to
take.
like, yeah, hot take. If men had to give birth, the planet would have died out. Adam
Oh.
would have been like, no thanks.
Bye-bye.
That would have been it.
yeah.
I'm good.
No,
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Okay, so beautiful bouncing baby boy CIA was birthed. At the time, there were still rumblings of like what we're saying, the bullshit rivalries between the agencies, but the law made it clear that the CIA was the country's preeminent intelligence service. Therefore, they had to pass information up through these channels.
It's the tap dag.
Unlike the FBI, as Patrick mentioned, which is a domestic security service, the CIA has no law enforcement function and is officially mainly focused on overseas intelligence gathering with only limited domestic intelligence collection. So there is a little bit, but they are not law enforcement technically. It's just intelligence. And they do almost none of it within the U.S.
It seems like more fun to work for the CIA than the FBI, right?
1,000%.
Yeah. Okay, great. How does one get recruited? Like, do you apply for that? Do you go to like CIA.gov and apply? Or like, how does that happen?
I'm going to CIA.gov and seeing if they have jobs listed.
Yeah.
I will answer this before the day is through.
Okay.
I'm excited to find out. And while you're there, submit an application. You never know.
Honestly,
Application.
the website is
Short for
sleek.
application.
Yeah.
Second tier careers. Click.
Wow.
Advance your career and protect the nation. Done.
I feel like you have to have like a military background.
I'm viewing all jobs. There's probably a lot of administrative stuff open.
Well, there
I'm
is.
I'm very proficient in Excel and Microsoft Word. I think I could get a job at the CIA. Like, it's
Listen,
hard.
I
a
took
government
Spanish
job
in
is-
high school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's boring.
exactly.
It's boring.
Exactly.
Okay, so although the CIA is often considered the U.S. counterpart to the Soviet KGB, at least when the Soviet Union existed, the CIA is forbidden by law from conducting intelligence and counterintelligence operations on domestic soil. Why does that sound like that's the opposite of what I just said?
Because you said that like there were some exceptions.
There are
So-
some exceptions. Yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere between a very little and none. We'll just put it that way. In contrast, the majority of the KGB's operations took place within the Soviet Union and against Soviet citizens. So,
Okay, so the CIA
the KGB is shady as fuck.
Yeah.
No offense, Russia.
Right. Well,
offense.
also full offense, Russia.
Right, exactly.
We're not here to protect you.
What if this is where I was like, well, actually. No, just hear me out. Here's the thing about Russia, you guys.
Oh, wow. No, I love it. I love it. Bring it on.
Well, now that we're talking, I wasn't going to say anything, but
But, like, have you seen that incredible shirtless picture of Putin, like, on a horse? Like,
yeah, exactly. Have you seen the episode of The Golden Girls where Rose has a dream that she wins a skating championship in Russia?
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's
and
enough to be a Russia sympathizer for life.
Right.
Yep.
Until she is, like, detained for having a THC vape and then given, like, 18 years in Russian prison. But, you know.
And why
Jesus
aren't we
Christ.
talking about that story 24 hours a fucking day?
Yeah. I mean, I think we know why we're not talking about it, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's another episode entirely.
Bring me back for that one.
She's just sitting in prison right now. It's it's really really horrible.
Terrifying. Save Britney. It's the new Save Britney.
Yeah. The true Free Britney movement.
Yeah.
Also, weren't there negotiations about like trading prisoners? Like whatever happened to that?
It's in the works, but the person that Russia wants is like a notorious arms dealer who's responsible for the deaths of like probably
like,
thousands and thousands of people.
The reason they detained her in the first place was to make a switch. Like, was a bullshit reason to like make a switch like this.
Yep. So it's likely going to happen because the U.S. is like, she needs to be returned safely.
There are too many eyes on this.
Yeah, it's just a really tough pill to swallow, the trade that Russia is proposing. So anyway, listen to The Daily. There's a whole episode about it from the New York Times. It's really nuts.
Like Amanda keeps saying, like, they're intentionally not bringing eyes to it. They want it to be all very quiet.
Yeah. Racism is a very real thing, and it shows up in our media in like a lot of insidious ways. And one of them is by having it not show up in the media. Like if this were a professional white female athlete who was detained in Russia, heterosexual, like there would be fucking absolute pandemonium in the media about this.
Yeah.
And that is just a fact.
Yeah. What I meant was she's already a public figure, so people already know about it, so the U.S. isn't able to just cover it up and be like, oh, sorry.
Right. So they're trying, it's kind of like a Barbra Streisand syndrome thing where it's like, we're just going to try not to talk about it. But
and I think the other argument too is that like the more publicity it gets in America, the stronger Putin's like the more cards the Russians
they
hold.
have to play.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it is a complex situation, but there's a lot of racism at play in this situation as well. But anyway, that's, like we said, totally different topic. But
Totally.
that's Russia. We did do KGB crimes relatively recently. So
we did.
head on
We're
back
a
and
roll.
listen to that.
Yeah.
in which we don't talk about Brittany Griner. That's
We
okay.
don't.
So there are 4 main components of the CIA. So the first is the Intelligence Directorate that analyzes intelligence by looking at the news, media, satellite imagery, information from agents in the field, and interception of communications. Then we have the Directorate of Science and Technology, which is responsible for keeping the agency abreast of new
Shortened to
technologies.
Scientology. Directorate of Scientology.
Yep. So they pay attention to new technologies. They carry out technical operations. So, for example, they deal with like the satellites.
They run the CIA's TikTok account, I assume.
They have a
This
really
does
robust
sound-
Twitter, actually.
Right. Oh, do they?
I believe that. Yeah.
And
This
they
sounds interesting to me. Like, if I was going to work in the CIA, I'm not like a sciencey person, but like, this sounds. I'd like to know like what secret technologies exist out there
Honestly,
that they don't want us to know about.
the only requirements for an applicant are that you are a U.S. citizen, and dual U.S. citizens are also eligible, that you are at least 18 years of age, that you are willing to move to the Washington, D.C. area, and that you are able to complete security and medical evaluations. So, honey, go run
Wow.
the CIA's Twitter. Apply right now.
you would crush it.
Yeah.
You really would.
So
You really would.
the Directorate of Science and Technology is basically like the engineers, like the science and technology people.
There is a communications officer position available.
Ooh. They also monitor foreign media, I think probably because there's a lot of like linguistics, language stuff in that. Then they have the Directorate of Administration, which is the nerd department. Plus, they root out spies within the CIA because they have to be careful of like counterintelligence. And finally, the Directorate of Operations is the exciting one. So this is the section that's responsible for spying,
Yes.
espionage, the good stuff, the real meat and taters of the
Yeah,
CIA.
Yum. Don't talk about food.
I am so hungry.
So hungry.
And special covert and often illegal operations, including subversion. So they're not even trying to say that they don't break the law all the time. They're just above the law.
Sure.
So clandestine activities are carried out under various covers, including the diplomatic cloak used by virtually every intelligence service, as well as corporations and other front companies that the CIA either creates or acquires. Despite the elaborate nature of some covert operations, such activities represent only a small fraction of the CIA's overall budget. So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
We've talked before about black sites, I think in the weird torture episode, so I don't want to get into that kind of stuff today, but I do have some weird facts about the CIA for us.
Okay.
It is reported that the average CIA employee has to undergo a polygraph examination every 3 or 4 years. Which
Well,
makes
I'm out.
sense. Just lie. I do it all the time.
Yeah, that's what I always do. Just lie.
God, I wish I had anything to hide. Wouldn't that be interesting?
I know. I do think about that. It's like
You know?
I don't have any secrets. Literally, the world knows everything about me that there is.
I
to know.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Oh.
The CIA reads up to 5 million tweets every single day.
That is Patrick's new job.
But to me, that sounds like the torture. We were like that. I thought you would have covered that in the torture episode, like reading like through Twitter to the tune of 5 million tweets. And oh my lord,
I would hate that. I would hate that.
Yeah. Okay, this was my favorite. Well, in my top 3 favorite facts. Known as Store Number 1, there is a Starbucks in the lobby of their headquarters in Langley, Virginia, but they don't write your name on the cup. They don't ask for your name because they're all spies.
They're all in the fucking. Okay, I love that.
There are also only 9 baristas there, and they have to undergo extensive background checks in order to work
are
there.
these
Incredible.
people getting paid more than the average Starbucks barista?
They
that sounds
fucking
like a
better
lot.
be.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
They probably are because they will have to. I mean, I'm sure they have to sign papers.
A ton of paperwork.
Like
it's probably
NDA
a higher
shit.
risk place to be because you'd be a target of attacks.
But
probably.
wouldn't it be
Imagine
an
like
incredible plot for like a novel, like a spy
Yes.
novel.
You're like a KGB guy and you got to kidnap the lady who works at the Starbucks
Yeah,
in
The
Langley.
barista.
Yeah, there's got to be a venti latte joke in there somewhere, like a
Totally.
quippy title of this weird CIA Starbucks barista romance novel that's formulating in my head.
Mhm.
Oh, I
yes,
love
exactly.
Gotta get my fanfic on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Also, because they have to be so subtle about like people's names and identities, they have to kind of have like fairly special training. Maybe not special, but they have to go above and beyond in recognizing people with their orders
Yeah.
and stuff like that. I'm positive they get paid more than the average.
They should. Yeah.
Can you imagine if they were just like did not give a fuck, like Subway
Right.
employees?
Well,
I
mean,
feel like, Amanda, you apply for one of those like communications jobs and they bring you in and they actually train you to work at the Starbucks. You know what I mean?
This is what would happen to me.
This
It's a
matches your
government
skill
job.
set.
I'm sorry. We do not have a position for you in the 5 million tweet crew,
Yeah, no.
but we do have a management spot at our
In the lobby.
Starbucks.
I
Welcome
worked
to
at a
the
Starbucks
lobby.
when I was in college. That's a hard job.
It is being a barista is such a fucking
I
hard
would
job.
not want to do it.
It's
just
so
very
fucking-
high
It's
stress.
so hot. The lines do not stop. It is relentless. You're burning yourself all
Plus,
fucking
you have a
day.
drive-through. Are you fucking kidding? Speaking of secret things inside the Langley, Virginia headquarters, there is a museum there, but only employees are allowed inside.
I don't get this.
I
It's like,
wouldn't.
aren't museums built for people to experience them?
And learn things.
Well,
Yeah.
it houses some fascinating yet failed projects like dragonfly drones, robotic fish, and pigeon-mounted cameras.
But
So
like,
they-
what's
Okay.
so
It's
like
like
if it?
spy shit.
But if it's things that didn't work, why can't everybody see it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't make the
I'm
rules,
sorry, I'm not
Patrick.
yelling at you.
Well, I feel
No,
like
I
you
am.
are.
It's Lucy's fault. Make the museum accessible.
Exactly.
I think the employees are allowed to get special clearance for
A
their
guest
spouses
pass.
or something. Yeah,
It's like a
guest
Planet
pass.
Fitness.
Yeah.
It
It's
also
not,
just seems like a big operation because once you've gone to that once, aren't you never going back? You know what I mean?
I would never
Right.
go back.
to the museum.
No.
Yeah.
It's also 11,000 square feet. It's a big
That is
museum.
too fucking much.
It
I
must
know.
go weeks at a time where there's nobody comes through except for the new barista.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Wouldn't you love to be a docent in that museum?
No. That'd be so boring. You would talk to no one.
You'd play
I
Best
know.
Fiends in the dark all day. It sounds incredible.
You're right. That doesn't sound so bad.
Okay. Did you know, which no, you didn't, the CIA bought the rights to and funded the film adaptations of 1984 and Animal Farm, which I first misread as Animal House. Not the same thing.
Same. I did
National
the same thing.
Lampoon's Christmas
Right,
Vacation.
yeah.
Oh my! I knew it.
Yeah.
It goes deep, you guys.
It's deep, the deep state. So George Orwell died in 1950, and the CIA thought it was someone convinced someone to buy the rights and make movies out of these. Okay,
Why not?
whatever.
Why the fuck not?
Exactly.
It was a
Right.
passion project.
This was like, oh my god, taxes are due and we have a surplus. What do we spend this money on so that we don't have to pay
A
taxes
pizza
on?
party.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Make that movie. Here we go.
Okay, this was my favorite fact for obvious reasons. In the 1960s, the CIA tried to turn cats into cyborg spies
No.
by surgically implanting an audio transmitter, a battery, and a microphone into the cat.
That's fucked up. Just put it on a little collar. You don't have to put it in the cat.
Spy. They were spies. They called it Operation Acoustic Kitty,
No. Ugh.
which subtle.
I don't understand. How does that? I don't understand. How are they trying to use that thing to get the cat to do something?
So they probably are sending the cat into a room where it wouldn't be very uncommon for a cat to wander in, and then recording people having
Oh.
conversations would be my guess.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Exactly that.
Okay.
But to
I thought
Patrick's
they were somebody on a walkie-talkie being all right,
Okay,
all right,
cat.
all right, Snowball. We're gonna need you to walk over to Putin's drink and drop the tablet in there. You know what I mean? I was like, how are you speaking fluent cat? I don't get it.
And the cats just have absurd cat names like, okay, Pinky Boots.
Ghostface.
All right, ribbons.
Ghostface, ribbons,
Yeah.
Ribbons.
pepperoni,
Scraps.
scraps.
If it was my daughter's cat, it would probably be called Daisy Speedy Cat.
Yes.
All right, Daisy Speedy Cat.
Or it's like
Here's
that
the
one
thing.
dog that that family let their kids name, and its name is like Spaghetti Batman.
Yes. I love that.
Okay, so this mission, believe it or not, failed when they couldn't get the cat to do what they wanted it to do.
Yeah, fucking duh.
And then once they
Like, of all the animals, too. Like,
Right.
the cat, as soon as the cat has any idea what you want it to do, it's going to do the other thing.
Yeah,
You know what I
bye-bye.
mean?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
and I would be the one to ruin the whole mission by like picking the cat up,
Oh, yeah.
taking it in to get checked for a chip.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, there's a chip, all right.
Mm-hmm.
But once they finally had a cat that was working out, the cat got hit by a taxi and died.
Stop! Oh, no!
Lucy.
The project cost about $20 million.
No. No fucking way.
I'm reading it in the notes. It got hit by a taxi. Oh, my God.
I love this.
this
and I
one's-
hate it.
This one's depressing and concerning. The CIA uses Amazon's cloud services to house all
Like,
their
what
information.
Oh,
on earth?
absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. But her emails, you guys.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
her emails.
I have absolutely no surprise or real reaction to that fun fact at all. Like, duh. Yeah, of course.
Well, you'll have a reaction to this one. They also
Okay.
narked on Nelson Mandela in 1962, leading to his arrest and imprisonment for 27 years.
That's a part of the story that gets left out, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the CIA does some
CIA
really fucked up shit.
Is
Yeah.
not great.
No. In the 1950s, the CIA invested in teaching their agents some magic tricks, like sleight of hand distraction stuff.
I feel like they brought in Neil Patrick Harris to do like a seminar.
Probably. Is he a magician?
Yup.
He is. Neil Patrick Harris, like, he's a member of the Magic Castle in LA, which is like
I'm obsessed
invite
with
only.
that. Yeah.
I want to go there so bad.
He
Can
has
you
a
imagine?
very specific set of skills.
Yeah. I love the guys being like, is that Doogie Howser? Doogie Howser's
Doing
teaching us how to be.
magic?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and last but not least, the CIA doesn't always use money to barter for intelligence. For example, during the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese farmers were often paid in tools because it was more valuable to them.
Yeah.
And probably in a lot of these places, they're just like, money, like our economy's so fucked, doesn't mean it, like, okay, you know.
In my case, which we'll get to, some of the folks are paid with some money, but mostly like get out of jail free cards. Like the police won't bother you. We're gonna put a safe zone
immunity
around
almost?
you. Yeah.
Oh,
We'll get to why.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of being paid and not money, also an Afghan chieftain was once paid for intelligence on the Taliban in Viagra. Like
I mean-
lot of Viagra.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hi.
Yeah. So that is my segment. I hope you learned something.
I learned a lot of stuff, I gotta tell you. I know about 100% more about the CIA now than I did an hour ago.
I would
Good.
agree with that. I also know 100% more about the CIA now.
The cats.
Oh God, those
cats.
poor fucking cats. Well, I mean, it's rough out there. Be careful
is
when you're
rough out
hailing a
there.
cab, cat.
It's true.
All right, Patrick, you're filling in for Kenyon this week, which means you had to cover the fan picker case, which means you got the darkness and yeah, we're sorry. It's really all it means. But you got this,
I'm
so
not
take it
sorry.
away, buddy.
You signed up for this.
Wait, I read the next part?
yeah, this is all you,
That's your
honey.
case.
Oh, this whole thing in the middle is me?
Yeah, it's all you, babe.
Oh my God. Okay. Oh God, I didn't realize that. All right, here I go.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
If you want to popcorn one of us in, you
Yep,
can.
we're
Okay.
here. We're here to support you.
Yeah.
Hey, what about a candy corn? Can I candy corn one of you in?
Yeah.
All right, so in the late 1970s, communism was in power in Afghanistan, which at the time was under the leadership of, I'm going to need some help here,
We got you. Noor
Nur Mohammed
Taraki. Yep.
I nailed it.
Yeah, you crushed
did.
it.
Taraki was the founding member of the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, but within this party, there was division between supporters of Tariqi's more extremist views and the more moderate members. Shortly after he came to power, Tariki signed a deal described as a treaty of friendship with the then Soviet Union. This will come into play later.
I love a good handshake agreement.
Also, a treaty described as a treaty of friendship sounds like an organization called Focus on the Family. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we know what you're trying to fucking hide. Everybody, knock it off.
Focus on the family.
You know what I mean? Like, call it a treaty of friendship. It's definitely some shady, bad shit.
It's not great.
It comes with a jerk-off motion.
Yeah.
Exactly. Tariqi's efforts to improve secular education and redistribute land sounds like decent policy rollout, but unfortunately, the means of getting there meant mass executions, including that of many conservative religious leaders, and political oppression that was unprecedented in Afghan history. And this ignited a revolt by Afghan mujahideen rebels.
Jeez.
I know.
It's already quite complicated.
Well, this bit I actually did know a little bit about. My sister joined the military after 9/11.
Yep.
Specifically because she wanted to go work with the women of Afghanistan.
Right.
And my sister I think she spent 4 tours in Afghanistan over the course of like 15 years.
That's incredible.
It was crazy. We were just cleaning out some pictures of my mom's house and we found all of these photos she took of the women and their kids and stuff in Afghanistan. Gorgeous people. So the Mujahideen are a collective of different guerrilla groups operating in Afghanistan during the Afghan War, 1978 to 1992. I was born in one of those years. I'll let you guess which one it was.
92, obviously.
Yeah, 92.
Yep.
Strong 92.
Yep. Big old zoomer over here.
Yeah. I was born the day Alanis Morissette's album first dropped.
Oh my God, I wish.
So the war opposed the invading Soviet forces and communism in general, and they were ready to fight back. Everyone was feeling real uncomfortable about the rise of communism in Afghanistan, and Pakistani intelligence was keeping an eye on the Islamist rebel forces challenging this political takeover. This is some heady, political foreign shit. You know?
mean, the fucking Soviet Union at the time is bringing communism into Afghanistan and putting people in power to expand their regime. And it's
we'll
like
get
the
to it,
fucking
but
Cold War, post-Cold War shit.
Well, they have so many resources in Afghanistan. That's all they want.
But then, the American involvement, I think we'll get to that in a minute. If I'm not mistaken, is how we invented the Taliban. Am I wrong?
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that I knew.
Yeah.
I read a lot of books around 9/11, everybody.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
So they passed this intelligence onto the U.S., which was led by Jimmy Carter at the time, and encouraged the Carter administration to provide support to these rebel factions.
Yeah, because we're like, communism bad. We'll take care of this.
What is it that what's the kind of farm that Carter had? Was it like an avocado farm? Peanuts, that's what it was.
A peanut farmer was in the White House.
Oh my God, Roseanne Barr's got the avocado farm. And that's not a euphemism.
Roseanne Barr and Jimmy Carter are very easy to mix up. Yeah. I get it. I really get it. That's an easy mistake.
I was just watching Roseanne Barr's
12 years old, building houses for humanity, or whatever it's called.
Roseanne Barr's TikTok is banana pants.
Oh, it's nuts, and I love it.
Roseanne's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just ma'am.
I mean, she has gone completely off the fucking deep end.
I would say take a seat, but I haven't seen her standing in 5 years.
Right. Take several seats, as you would say.
Exactly.
Lay down.
So the Carter administration immediately involved the CIA, according to former CIA official Robert Gates. And this is a quote using their racist 70s terminology, not ours. Quote, the Carter administration turned to the CIA to counter Soviet and Cuban aggression in the Third World, particularly beginning in mid-1979.
So we were still referring to the Middle East as the Third World at that time.
Right.
Get over it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Paints a picture.
Yeah. So the CIA and U.S. officials started secretly meeting with leaders of these rebel forces via the Pakistani government and their existing intelligence. Then we started providing seed money to the operation. The Carter administration signed off on millions of dollars coded as non-military assistance. And this is interesting. These are funds meant to be used for medical equipment, radio transmitters, and basic support needs. But of course, that's not at all what the funds were used for.
No.
They were literally funding Afghan extremists who were working to overthrow the government.
Which, like,
Jesus.
on one hand, okay, the government is Soviet Russia.
Yes.
But on the other hand, it's like, is this really a fight
I
we
know.
want to be giving seed money to? It comes back to bite us in the ass.
You know what's so crazy,
Yeah.
though, is that, like, and I, like, speaking as a family member of a person who was in Afghanistan for
Right.
many, many, many years, like, we are right now learning about how we got to Afghanistan. We just left Afghanistan, like, a couple years ago, like a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
bananas? This is 1979 we're talking about, and Biden just pulled everybody out, like, last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
remember, like, at the time they were pulling everybody out, like, they were talking about how every administration from Carter to Biden had
Yeah.
talked about doing it, and Biden finally did it. But, like, that's the span of time
It's
I know.
fucking
we
nuts.
got there and didn't leave.
Afghanistan has been under some kind of, like, colonialism or occupation for so fucking long.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable. It's just
No,
it's
and
not.
because, like, if you remember when we left, like, like all of the different, like, they were calling them, like, terrorist factions that were taking over the airport, marching into the cities. Like,
That was
they took
awful.
Afghanistan back in a
Days.
day.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. It took so little time for everything to crumble, and what a
For the
shame.
literally,
for the,
like, what, 50 years that
Yeah.
we were all there, and how many, like, American lives were lost. I mean, it's
Yeah, it's all so fucking tragic and fucked up on, like, every possible side of things.
the only good news about all of this is that none of it is real, and we're all like a science experiment
Well,
of
right,
an
this is a
alien
simulation.
5,000 years. We're in the simulation. Thank God.
Yeah.
We're all
Sometimes I
acoustic
forget.
kitties.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget that this is all a simulation, and then I
Right.
remember, and I'm like, oh, right, no, I can drink wine at 2 in the afternoon. It's all
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Nothing's real. I love that about you, Patrick. So
Yeah,
thank you for that reminder.
So much. I just feel like it's my job to remind everybody that none of this happened.
No.
I'm just kidding. Oh my God, I'm just kidding.
No, Wine and Crime listeners do know that I am team simulation, so I'm
Million
with you on
percent.
this.
Yeah.
It's our
Well, yeah,
reality.
the Space Needle.
Yeah, the
Ex-
Space
yeah.
Needle is not fucking real. Fucking at me. Okay.
And I'm
continue.
also just confused how we got to Afghanistan with the world being as flat as it is. Do you know what I mean? I don't like. Did we walk? I can't figure out how we
Right.
got there.
Right.
You
How
know?
did we not fall off the edge?
Yeah,
Like, it's
I know.
crazy, you guys.
It's
Yeah.
getting closer and closer to the edge. It's
Right.
very concerning.
Right.
Um,
Well, all of this could have been prevented if they just had QuickBooks back then, and they could
I
know
know.
how to code
Yeah.
yeah.
all this money.
Thank you
If
so
only
much.
it were that easy. They knew how to code it. They were doing this on purpose.
So
Our
this started-
bookkeeper would not have let this fly. Kenyon's
So
mom.
this started the CIA on sourcing equipment from gray market dealers all over the world. They used third-party channels to purchase old surplus equipment, such as World War II era British Lee Enfield?
Yeah, we know so much about guns.
I was just gonna say British era Lee Enfield rifles. Are those the muskets?
Sure.
Sure.
You're gonna like put the thing in and stuff it down.
I think we were past muskets by World War II, but
Are you
also
sure?
there's no way to know. There's no way to know. Yeah.
It's
That
a-
is the truth.
It's a bolt action magazine fed. It's an automatic gun. There we go.
Holy moly!
It's an intense gun. Yeah.
And these guns couldn't be easily traced back to the U.S. Good thinking, America. As the war progressed, however, the CIA made less of an effort to disguise their support of the Mujahideen, making little effort to cover up their activities and eventually just straight up shipping easily traced U.S.-made FM-92 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles. Because at some point, you just stop giving a fuck. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And these things are insane. Like they you can like hold it on your shoulder and shoot down like a plane. Like it's
Wow.
they're a really intense
I'm
piece
Googling
of military
that one
equipment.
too. FIM-92.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stinger.
They're big. It's literal bringing out the big guns.
Ooh, yeah.
Kind of gnarly. Lucy, you can go ahead and add that photo to the drive, whatever you're doing.
And one of them today costs $38,000.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking at like Craigslist? Like, are you in the market?
Facebook Marketplace.
It was a suggested search term when I typed it in. It's like, oh.
Holy shit.
It's like we see Lucy pulling out her credit card.
Oh my God.
Tapping
No,
my
it's-
fingerprint.
You know this shit's cash only. There's no way. There's no
Or
way.
Viagra.
On Craigslist, yeah. I will accept trades. OBO.
Farming tools.
Totally. Oh God.
Cat and bedbug free home.
Yeah.
38,000 OBO.
Yeah.
So the Soviet Union saw the Afghan communist government's grip of control slipping and sent troops in to maintain order. This included assassinating Noor Mohammad Tariqi's rival Hafizullah Amin and replacing Tariqi with someone they considered to be a stronger leader, a man named Babrak Kamal as Afghan president. From GuinnessWorldRecords.com, and we are told this may sound like an insane source, but it will actually make sense in just a second, so bear with me. The resources allocated to Afghanistan were dramatically increased following the December 24th, 1979 Soviet invasion. The Carter administration lifted its initial restrictions on weapons shipments and raised the budget to tens of millions of dollars. Under newly elected President Ronald Reagan, barf, in 1981, the CIA was given a $30 million budget for Afghan operations.
That's only 10 million more than acoustic kitties.
Right.
Yeah. And about $30 million more than it would have cost him to say AIDS once during his entire administration.
Right. Exactly.
By 1984, this budget had risen to $200 million per year. At its peak in 1987, the CIA was working with an annual budget of $700 million to procure equipment and logistical support for the Mujahideen. No one is saying how well I'm saying that word.
You're
each
doing
time.
You're
so
doing it,
great.
yes.
You're doing so great. Our silence is the award.
Thank you so much.
I'm in awe.
It's a word that is like such an interesting word, and I cannot believe my mouth can pronounce it.
It
I
kind
know.
of rolls off.
It
You're
does.
doing great.
I gotta tell you, I can only read any of these words because of the amount I've listened to the Rachel Maddow show. That's
Yes,
it. I owe
it's
everything
true.
to Rachel.
Rachel Maddow teaches us so much.
Everything
does.
I've said in this section comes from listening to the Rachel Maddow show.
Perfect.
So the U.S. is dumping money into Afghanistan to undermine the Soviet Union, which brings us to why the Guinness Book of World Records is the source here. Because Operation Cyclone was the most expensive covert action in U.S. history. Between 1979 and 1989, so 10 years, the CIA spent more than $2 billion in weapons, logistical support, and training to the Mujahideen.
Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing problematic about that at all. And I am sure this won't come back to bite the U.S. in the ass later. Oh, wait. It did.
Oh, shit. Shyamalan twist.
Shyamalan twist. I didn't see it coming.
Never saw this coming.
Do you know that I ruined, what's the I See Dead People one?
Sixth
What's it called?
Sense.
I ruined The Sixth Sense for my friend Ellen. I had not seen it, but within 5 minutes, I leaned over and I was like, oh, and I said the thing.
You did not.
Yeah, I swear to God, and not because I thought, not for any other reason that I just was like, oh, well, in order for that to make sense, he would have to be
I also
thing.
love how because of this trauma that you've endured with your friend Ellen, you're choosing not to spoil it on this show. And this movie is like 20 years old almost.
It's like 30 years old. That's like from, it's crazy.
Kenyon did the same fucking thing to me with The Village.
yeah.
Within 3 minutes.
Leaned
I gotta
over.
tell you, I think about The Village every single day.
Oh, I love that movie. I love that
love it
movie so
too.
much.
It's
I'm with
so
you.
Not the least of which because Cherry Jones is in it, and I love Cherry Jones.
Yeah, honey.
Is she the blind one?
No, well, no. That's Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh,
Bryce
she's
Dallas Howard.
wonderful.
Look, I'm not trying to start shit, but Bryce Dallas Howard stole a movie role from a friend of mine.
Really?
I knew she sucked. I knew
In the
it.
Twilight movies, she replaced my friend.
As fucking Victoria,
Yes.
unfucking cool. And I mean, and they were already replacing the original Victoria with somebody else. It should have been
that's
your
what I'm
friend.
No, it was my friend. My friend was the original
Your friend
Victoria.
was the original?
Rochelle Lefebvre, yes.
Shut up.
I know, is that crazy? We're not like really. We went to camp together, but like we stayed in touch a little bit.
She's our
I know.
best friend, and we will die on this hill.
Wait, can I tell you a secret though? Because I've been calling her all of these years. I've been calling her Rachel Lefebvre, and they're like, "No, it's Rochelle. It's Rochelle." And I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's Rachel." I just like 2 days ago was going through my thing from camp where they gave all of us they gave all of us like a thing that has like everyone's name and address and phone number on it. You guys, it's Rachel. She's changed her name professionally to Rochelle.
Okay, I really love that we went from going to bat for Rochelle to throwing her under every bus for changing how she's pronouncing her name.
Look,
I love this. Hollywood is fickle, baby.
I know.
Let's go.
I'm just saying. Look, we got more we got to go back to Afghanistan.
Okay, let's go back to Afghanistan. Okay.
So, over the course of 10 years, from 1979 to 1989, the Soviet Union was occupying Afghanistan, and the U.S. and also Britain were bad, but not all by ourselves.
Right. Yeah, we had help. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's funding multiple extremist groups fighting against them. Many of the figures involved in the U.S.-backed struggle against the Soviet invaders would go on to become notorious terrorist commanders, including Jalaluddin Haqqani, leader of the Haqqani Network, Muhammad Omar, leader of the Taliban, and Osama bin Laden, leader of Al-Qaeda.
Jesus.
I know. So when they say 9/11 was an inside job because of Bush, actually, Carter and Reagan kind of did make it an inside job, which really doesn't sit well considering how in 1983, President Reagan, met with the Mujahideen leaders, calling them freedom fighters at the White House.
Yeah. So it was like an open, not even secret that like we were funding this. And like we as a nation were like so anti-communist at the time, and we still are. Like a lot of this remains. I mean, you see it in a lot of Trump supporters, but like so anti-communist that like no one really batted an eye at the fact that we were sending all of this money to these like pretty extreme factions in Afghanistan because they were fighting against Soviet rule, which was like that was the big hot sexy thing to do. Well, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and now.
Yeah. Not just money, though. Arms
Weapons.
And training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the training ended up being one of the biggest things when the factions of what we were calling terrorist groups broke off. I mean, and I don't think any of this was popularly known by like the idiot me's of the world until like after 9/11.
Right.
You know?
Right. Or
like,
until we wrote these notes. But totally.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And, you know, and the other thing I was going to say, like the thing that never gets talked about is like all of these different like international governments coming in and like no one talks about the civilians, the people just trying to fucking milk their goats and live their lives and raise their kids and send their kids to school. No one like imagine living like Afghanistan's not that big of a country.
No, and Afghanistan has basically not known a time without war for like well over 100 years. So many people have died. So many people who, like you said, are just trying to fucking live their lives. And this has just been such a hotbed of like scramble for power in this region.
It's so crazy.
It's so fucking tragic. And you're totally right. And I appreciate you taking a pause to like remember the people that are fucking dying because of this shit.
It's so one of the reasons that it's so front of mind is like I was saying, I was just home and I was going through my sister's old pictures and she's just like an amateur photographer and she was really interested in taking pictures of the women and their kids in Afghanistan. And like these people are like, you see kids playing and they have blissfully unaware.
Right.
And it's just like like just regular people live there. And
and Afghanistan has been such like a politicized topic in the US for so long that and that's intentional to dehumanize the people who are truly suffering under all of this shit. We use those tactics here stateside. We use them to paint a picture of so much going on in the world. It's like, I'm not a giant conspiracy theorist other than the fucking Space Needle, but like take everything you see in the media with a grain of salt and remember that there are people and families and just normal, average, everyday folks behind all of this shit.
Yeah. You also, I think about like the invasion of Ukraine a few months ago and how we have social media, we have on the ground journalists, we are able to see these things
in the fucking 80s.
Basically in real time, and everyone's setting their fucking Facebook profile pictures, support Ukraine, things like that, which is fine, but it's because we see all of these casualties, all of this, the effects it has on civilians, and that's why we care about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the same fucking thing happened here, and it ignited a war.
Can you give me your 60-second conspiracy on the Space Needle?
Oh,
it
not
won't
real.
take 60 seconds.
It is a hologram, and all the times that I have been to Seattle, which is many, people have been like, "Oh, look, you can see the Space Needle today," and then I turn to look at it, and she gone.
We were in
Have
a
you
car driving
Have you ever
through
been
a
up the
wooded
Space
area.
Needle?
Absolutely not. But even if I did go up the Space Needle, frankly, because we are living in a simulation,
She's
they
in
are
too
so advanced. Like,
Yeah, you're right. Well, like in the according to the simulation theory, the three of us just met today, and
Right.
everything that we know about each other. That time that I carried your
was
shit at
downloaded.
CrimeCon,
Yeah.
it was downloaded. Like it was in the second
Right.
before we met.
And since birds also aren't real, they're all just government drones. I also have a theory that they are
No, that
spawned
program
with,
failed, remember?
right. But
Yeah.
if it had thrived, they would be spawned within the Space Needle. So that's my quick 60.
It's all coming together. I like it. I'm
I
into it.
refuse to believe. Moving
Yep.
up.
So finally, in 1989, the Mujahideen drove the very last Soviet soldier out of Afghanistan, leaving the often disputing groups who for the last decade had remained united against communism without a common enemy and with a fuck ton of weapons paid for by the U.S. government. That's what I just said.
Yep. Yep.
And now that the Soviet Union was finally out of Afghanistan and on the brink of collapse, the U.S. immediately discontinued aid. Oh my God.
Yep.
I can see the future coming.
I know.
Meaning these groups are now realizing the weapons they have are a finite resource. They did make an attempt to share power among leaders of the different groups, but by 1996, the strategy had completely imploded in on itself and a war breaks out among the factions. This infighting would last 4 years, destroying most of the capital city of Kabul and killing more than 50,000 people. From the wreckage emerges the Taliban, and they set up rule.
Yep.
God.
And yeah, like you said before, funded and trained by the U.S. government.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause and say that, like, I know a lot of this, but I'm reading this material provided by you and your team, and I got to say, it's fucking great. Whoever put this together did a great job.
Thank you
was
so
Amanda.
much. It was me.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's
I
like,
got really high and went down a really deep rabbit hole at like 12:30 in the morning, and
I tried to start it yesterday because we were
And I
going to
was like,
tag
"Oh,
team
honey,
it.
I
And
got
I'm
this."
like, this is so fucking complicated.
you know what, though? Like, your ability to take all of this really complicated stuff and make it, like, digestible is incredible.
thank you so much. My
You're
God.
welcome. So the aftermath of all this is obviously heavy criticism and a lack of trust in the U.S. government. From the Washington Institute org, quote, one of the greatest criticisms of the U.S. policy, especially after the rise of the Taliban, has been that the CIA directly supported Arab volunteers who came to Afghanistan to wage jihad against the Soviets, but eventually used the American arms to engage in terrorist war against the West. However, the so-called, quote, Afghan Arabs only emerged as a major force in the 1990s.
Yeah, so there's like some dispute about how many like volunteers came to take up arms and then were used in this fight against the West. But
Yeah.
like they didn't really join up until after this had gone down. But it's sort of that like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like they
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
fertilized the fucking egg and then the chicken came.
So this is that statement is just an attempt to distance the U.S. from this.
Right.
During the resistance against the Soviet occupation, Arab volunteers played at best a cursory role. Right, so that's what you're saying.
Yep.
Many Afghan specialists criticized the U.S. for merely walking away from Afghanistan after the fall of the Soviet Union. Ed Girardi, a journalist and Afghan expert, observed, quote, the United States really blew it. They dropped Afghanistan
That's
like
like
a
my
hot
favorite
potato.
fucking thing.
Dude.
ever. The United States really blew it.
They
But I mean,
shit the
They
bed.
did. We did.
Oh, yeah.
And like, honestly, the America paid the price for that.
Yup.
You know what I mean? Like, we created this unstable country where
Yep.
all of these different like terrorist groups like and we gave them so much money and art,
Yeah.
like it's you know
Yeah.
what I mean, like we
It destabilized our country.
1,000%.
exactly.
Yeah.
So indeed, Washington's lack of engagement created a policy void in which radical elements eagerly filled. Like that's what we're just saying.
Yep.
So the big issue that we've seen pointed out is that the U.S. funded these groups to take down the Soviet occupation, provided advanced weaponry, and then peaced as soon as the Soviets as soon as the Soviet Union withdrew, leaving these groups in Afghanistan to fight over who takes power, using the remainder of the money and weapons we provided them. Like, that's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yep, that's it. In a nutshell.
The Washington Institute goes on to say that by delegating responsibility for arms distribution to the ISI, Pakistan's equivalent to the CIA, the United States created an environment in which radical Islam could flourish, and with the coming of the Taliban, radical Islam did just that.
Yep.
God.
Yep.
This was an excellent rundown of
Isn't it nuts? Like,
all of this.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fucked up.
You know, while they continue to show the clip of like George Bush reading, you know, stories to kids and being told about 9/11, we don't get told.
I believe that story was like the hungry goat or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we can maybe remember what story George Bush was reading to children at the time that he was informed about the 9/11 attacks, but we're very intentionally not told about the U.S. history and involvement in Afghanistan that like kind of helped create the environment that allowed that to happen.
And
not kind of.
Exactly. And like gave the money and gave the arms. And it really is like, yeah. I mean, I remember at the time of 9/11, imagine like trying, like you're a journalist who like knows all of the history and you're like, fuck, how do I explain it to these idiots?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Who are all so riled up now and ready to go to war. Like, holy shit. Whew, well, Patrick.
Like giving like the president the ultimate authority to declare war without like making it an act of Congress. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh my God. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It was just so much ugliness. It still is, but
it's not good.
Just decades of ugliness.
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, you took on a lot with going over those notes, and thank you for diving in. And
you didn't have to candy corn us once.
You didn't have to candy corn us a single time. You are fucking amazing. Okay, so friends, lovers, you know I can't do an episode about the CIA without talking about their insane LSD mind control experiments.
Oh my God.
I
read some of this. It's so fucked up.
It's so crazy because I've been on LSD the whole time we've been recording.
But
you know
haven't
what I mean?
you haven't lost your mind once. Oh,
not yet.
We know.
Yeah.
Did either of you see that Wormwood documentary on Netflix?
No.
It's about the CIA using LSD.
Oof. Y'all, it's bad. And there's so much to it that I didn't include because it goes far and wide, as our wine pairing suggests. Also, I'm drunk at this point, so good luck. Also,
candy corn us in.
I mean, I'm going to soldier through. I also finally read Stephen King's Firestarter this year, so I'm like super sucked into this rabbit hole because I had to get ahead of the Zac Efron reboot.
You know what though? That happened to me when I read that the time travel JFK one. I can never remember the date. 11, 22, 60, whatever it was. I became then obsessed with time travel. Anyway,
I totally get it. So this was that was the inspiration. So I know we're living in bizarro times right now, but the Cold War era was rife with conspiracy theories on every level, including high levels of government. And it was like the 1950s. The CIA, as we know, had like just been assembled.
Yeah.
A couple of years before.
And like McCarthy and blah, blah, blah.
It's all a whole thing. So during this time, the CIA became convinced that communist powers had developed a way to control human minds, be it through drugs or psychological techniques or a combination of both. They leaned really heavily on it's drugs. They've created a drug that can instigate both mind control and also like truth telling. Mm-hmm. And that whole like truth serum thing, like we still fucking look into that. Yeah.
It's
not real.
Oh, it's not? There's not?
No.
I thought there was a truth serum.
I mean, in Harry Potter, there super is.
Also in Alias, there was one.
In Alias, there was one. In my world, it's just wine is my truth serum.
Yeah.
But like, we don't have a legitimate, scientifically backed truth serum. We just don't.
I gotta say, we definitely, speaking of things that America's dropped the ball on, magic.
Why do we not have that? Why do we not have magic?
I think that we should invest more in magic and figure out how to get these things.
I completely
My kid wants
agree.
a unicorn, okay? I'd like to make that happen.
Honestly, they could clone Dolly, but they can't put a fucking horn on a horse. What are we doing here?
It doesn't make any sense.
Where are my taxpayer dollars going?
Yep. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I support you in all things.
The next CIA project.
Yeah, exactly.
Secret mission.
So the CIA got this idea in their heads that American prisoners of war who had been held by communist Russia, China, and North Korea had been brainwashed and mind controlled into like team communism, which is like, it's unlikely that they had been mind controlled. It is entirely likely that there was brainwashing, that there were physical and psychological torture, and that like most of these people likely returned to the US, were released from being prisoners of war with a whole slew of psychological issues, including PTSD that we simply didn't acknowledge
Stockholm
or really
syndrome.
understand. Yeah, Stockholm syndrome. All the shit that we didn't really take seriously in the 1950s. So, like, they were like, mind control. That's the answer. They're
when you look
fucking
at it,
doing mind control.
just like thinking of images of like North Korean soldiers and everyone's like goose stepping in unison. Like,
Oh, God.
if you didn't understand as much about psychology as we do today, it seems
It's not
pretty
that
reasonable to
far-fetched.
be
I
like,
get it.
oh, they've all been dosed with
Right.
something.
They must have a mind controlled drug.
Yeah.
So in response, the CIA begins its own secret program called MK Ultra, which I could only
Stop
read
it.
as Michelob
Mick
Ultra.
Of
Mick
course.
Ultra.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So Mick Ultra,
Of
I will
course.
only be referring to MK Ultra as Mick Ultra for the rest of this.
That
There's
was
a
my
secret
first
program
beer
called Wine
Of
Cooler.
course. Yeah.
from Zia.
Boone's Farm. Yep. So they launched Mick Ultra to search for a mind control drug that could be weaponized against enemies. And I would argue that Mick Ultra is kind of a mind control drug. So maybe they nailed it.
Kinda, if you drink 100 of them.
So this operation was launched under the leadership of then CIA Director Alan Dulles, yes, all Allens, who put in charge a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. He ran this program for over a decade, starting in the 1950s. Experiments were conducted all over the country at universities and research centers on consenting volunteers, though some consenting under pretty vague pretenses, which made this operation easier to fund, at least in that way, covertly as like medical research. But a lot of shady shit was going on that was not on the book. So more alarmingly than volunteers of this research program being experimented on, there were many who were forced into these experiments at prisons in the United States, as well as detention centers abroad in Japan, Germany, and the Philippines. And just like people, which we'll get to. So experiments
They're all
included
people.
Yeah, well, right. But like outside of just prisons, like they put together some fucking crazy ruses to get people on LSD. It was nuts.
Okay.
Wow.
So there's a fly in my face. Experiments included administering LSD to psych patients, prisoners, yep, drug addicts, and sex workers. Quote, people who could not fight back, as one agency officer put it. So the
Yeah.
most vulnerable who aren't gonna like do anything about
Sue.
this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They also administered LSD to CIA employees at random. Like one guy was dosed with CIA like at a Christmas party and had a
LSD?
full-blown... Sorry, yes, he was dosed with LSD. I'm drunk. At a Christmas party, had like a full-blown meltdown and then tried to like armed rob a bank. Like it was nuts.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They did it to military personnel, doctors, other government agents, and members of the general public to study their reactions. LSD and other drugs were often administered without the subject's knowledge or informed consent, which is a violation of the Nuremberg Code. And the U.S. had agreed to follow the Nuremberg Code after World War II, but the CIA was like, fuck it, we're just going to give people LSD and not tell them and just see what
I mean,
happens. It's
they
gonna be
break
so
the
funny.
laws all the time.
All the time, yeah. So the aim of this was to find drugs which would bring out deep confessions or wipe the subject's mind clean and program them as a robot agent.
Jesus,
So-
hell.
Yeah, that's like nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Stephen Kinzer, a journalist who spent years investigating this program, said, quote, Gottlieb wanted to create a way to seize control of people's minds, and he realized it was a two-part process. First, you had to blast away the existing mind. Second, you had to find a way to insert a new mind into that resulting void. We didn't get too far on number 2, but he did a lot of work on number 1.
Oh my
Wow.
God. Blast
Yeah,
away the
blast it
existing
away.
mind.
Yep.
I mean,
So-
it does kind of blast away your existing mind.
I've never done LSD, but I've done a lot of other drugs, so I can only imagine.
I cannot, like, the most I've ever done is like alcohol.
Patrick does alcohol, you guys.
Does
I do
alcohol.
alcohol. I've never eaten the marijuana. I've only smoked the marijuana like 1 or 2 times. I'm
Honey,
just like,
Run for office. Let's go. You're
Yeah,
clean as a
really.
whistle.
I'm sure like I probably have skeletons in other areas.
You never inhaled.
You
Right,
could work
exactly.
at the CIA.
You totally could. I would never fucking pass a drug test in a million years. So from
I have
history.com,
taken LSD, and I will tell you, it blasts the
It'll blast
existing
your mind.
Oh
well,
my
and
God.
they're not giving like recreational doses. They're giving
Uh-huh.
they're
Really
trying
high.
to blast your mind. Yeah. It would
Yeah.
be terrifying.
Oh,
So,
I cannot imagine.
History.com says, quote, Mick Ultra's mind control experiments generally centered I'll never stop.
Mick Ultra.
Mick Ultra. Generally centered around behavior modification via electroshock therapy, hypnosis, polygraphs, radiation, and a variety of drugs, toxins, and chemicals.
Jesus Christ.
So bad. These experiments relied on a range of test subjects, some who freely volunteered, some who volunteered under coercion, some who had absolutely no idea they were involved in a sweeping defense research program. So they didn't even know this was like a CIA. They had no idea. They were just like, their drinks were spiked, basically.
It was just you were at a restaurant,
Yep.
server brought your drink, and
Yep.
the next thing you know, you're robbing a bank.
And the server is watching you because they're actually a CIA agent and they want to see how you respond. So they would experiment
robbing a
on
bank.
people from mentally impaired boys at a state school to American soldiers to, quote, sexual psychopaths at a state hospital.
Ew,
That's
my
me. They're
God.
talking about my brethren. That's what
Yep.
they're talking about.
I feel
Yep.
so seen.
Dose the sexual psychopaths.
Yeah.
So Mick
it's
Ultra's
just another
programs.
Friday night on Fire Island, if you ask me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This is 1,000% what the Republicans think gay culture is.
Yeah.
A million
1,000%.
percent. Oh my God, Mitch McConnell, if you had any idea how
He's
fucking
listening. He
I know.
loves this podcast. He loves it.
Almost
He and
as
Joe
much as
Rogan.
Joe.
Yeah.
He and Joe Rogan have a weekly Zoom call to talk
Totally.
about the episodes that just came out.
A
And it's amazing.
recap. They
Yeah.
have their own podcast to review our podcast.
They
Yeah.
do. They don't have a lot of listeners, but I love it.
That happened to me and Jillian once. There actually was a podcast who like did a whole episode about how bad True Crime Obsessed is.
Amazing.
It was like
Your life.
these like 3 straight guys just breaking down like how
Oh.
gay I was, how like what a dumb woman. It was unreal. I listened to the
Oh
whole
my-
thing. I know.
I listened to the
You're
whole
gonna need
whole
to
thing.
send that to me because I don't want to give them listens, but I
Totally.
super want to hear it.
Yeah.
And then I want to email them and recommend that they talk about wine and crime.
I
So,
know. I wish they had done like a video so I could like duet it on TikTok.
we all have a literal cross stitch of our favorite 1-star review where the
Oh.
review just says bad.
I'll
Yeah.
show you.
I hear they're playing this on repeat in Guantanamo Bay. And we have it cross stitched. Mine's hanging above the sink in my kitchen. I
Oh
mean,
my
I'm so
God.
proud of it.
That is amazing.
When 3 fucking cishets make a whole podcast episode about you, you know you've done it. Like,
I know.
you took
Yeah.
up so much
I know.
space
I'm
in their sad
jealous.
little life. I'm so
I know.
jealous.
What was it
Anyway.
called?
I can't even remember.
It's fine.
I googled
We'll
the
find
podcast
it.
and it came up. Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah.
We got
So
you.
the CIA considered prisoners especially good subjects as they were willing to give consent in exchange for extra recreation time or commuted sentences.
That's
it's
not
probably-
called consent.
No, it's
That
not.
is literally the opposite of what the word consent means.
It's coercion.
They're
It's
also
not-
Exactly.
easier to observe if they're
Yep.
just in a prison cell.
Yep. One prisoner in
Consent. Oh
I know.
my God. Please don't make me go on my 45-minute consent rampage.
I know. And that was part of the quote, not me saying
Oh,
they
of course.
gave
No,
consent.
no.
Yes.
Of course.
You know, listeners
Of
at
course.
home might not know, but
Yeah.
yes, insert
Amanda
45-minute rant
actually-
here.
Engineered
Yeah,
Mick
no.
Ultra.
Yeah, this was my passion project.
Oh my God.
So one prisoner, infamous mob affiliate Whitey Bulger, which we've talked about him in other episodes, was experimented on as part of this program while he was in prison and spoke of his experience later on. He said he experienced, quote, total loss of appetite, hallucinating, the room would change shape, hours of paranoia and feeling violent. We experienced horrible periods of living nightmares and even blood coming out of the walls. Guys turning into skeletons in front of me. I saw a camera change into the head of a dog. I felt like I was going insane.
No,
Wow.
I don't believe in torture, obviously.
No,
I'm
no.
not sad that Whitey Bulger had a bad day in jail. That guy's like responsible for the murder of like 100 people.
Right. He's bad. But
Yeah, he's real bad.
yeah, he's not the poster child of the ethics
No.
of this situation. But
Yeah.
he was like one person who talked about their experience. So I got the
Totally.
soundbite.
Yeah, totally.
He gave the soundbite. So, in one particularly absurd experiment, the CIA set up brothels in San Francisco and hired sex workers to lure men into the brothel and unknowingly give them LSD. The theory was that these Johns would be too ashamed to tell anyone what had happened, and therefore this run of experiments would be kept under wraps, just like on its own. They grossly named the Operation Midnight Climax.
Come on. First of all, Midnight Climax, that's my drag name. But enough.
I know. I mean, on the nose. I love it.
Yeah.
God.
So men were lured to the brothels by sex workers who would bring them into rooms equipped with two-way mirrors and CIA agents just jacking off on the other side, watching them and
Fucking
filming the sessions.
I mean.
Yeah.
for like peer review.
Pretty much
Right.
for the CIA. And the Johns would be provided with cocktails that they didn't know were laced with LSD. Which, like, again, these people are not great, but, like, don't drug them without knowing what the
Yes.
fuck is going on.
Of course.
So the agent in charge, a man named George Hunter White, and his CIA cronies would watch them have sex and, quote, evaluate the effects of LSD doses being given to the unsuspecting Johns.
What the fuck?
Yep. So this is another quote from history.com. Quote, though the CIA piloted these safe houses as a stage for testing the effects of LSD, safe house being a brothel, White's interest shifted to another element of his observations, the sex.
Ugh.
The San Francisco house became the center of what one writer called the CIA carnal operations. Blech.
God.
I hate the straights so much. We
Yeah.
ruin everything. As officials began asking new questions about how to work with, in their quote, in their terms, prostitutes, how they could be trained and how they would handle state secrets. Because they were working with so many sex workers to lure in these unsuspecting Johns. The agency also analyzed when, in the course of a sexual encounter, information could be best extracted from a source, eventually concluding that it was immediately after sex.
Oh, come on.
But perhaps unsurprisingly, much of White's actions were driven by pure voyeurism. So he's trying to, like, very loosely shroud this experimentation in how could we use these tactics to get information out of targets.
Justify your
Give
grossness.
them LSD, hire a sex worker to fuck them and then interrogate them and they'll hand over like state secrets.
Oh my God.
We're never gonna fucking do that, you guys.
No.
But
when you could just as easily take state secrets right out of the Oval Office, put them in a
Right.
broom closet in your beach
at
house.
fucking
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago.
It's so much easier, you
we
guys.
don't even need to hire a sex worker.
No.
But like sex work is real work, so like definitely
Yes.
hire them. But like,
Yes.
you know. But now for you, we don't need it for this.
No, exactly.
So this fucking guy, White, says, quote, I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?
Who
That's
is this
what
a
this-
quote from?
This is the guy fucking, what's-his-face, the CIA agent who is running this, like, brothel experiment.
I know it's about him. Did
Now,
he say
said
those
this.
words?
He said this about the process, where it was
Oh
like,
my
I got to do
God.
whatever I wanted, sanctioned by the CIA and the American government. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a massive piece of shit.
Yeah.
Jesus
So
Christ.
this operation was deemed successful enough to open a second fake brothel location just across the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin County.
It's a franchise.
It's a franchise. Yep. So White now had 2 locations to get his rocks off, and he encouraged other agents to do the same. One agent later said in an interview, quote, "You could bring people in for quickies after lunch." The CIA, everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, paying for that quickie.
A lot of them.
And the Marin County location was more secluded than the bustling San Francisco spot, so they could get away with a lot weirder shit there. It was like a dumping ground for the weird shit they wanted to try. So one reporter wrote that, quote, "There, the technical services staff scientists tested such McUltra specialties as stink bombs, itching and sneezing powders, and diarrhea inducers."
Stop it.
Oh my God.
All things I don't need. I have all of this naturally.
Yeah.
TSS's Ray Treichler, the Stanford chemist, sent these harassment substances out to California for testing by White, along with such delivery systems as a mechanical launcher that could throw foul-smelling objects 100 yards. So the CIA is putting money into seeing how far we could launch a stink bomb at, like, an enemy, I guess.
Oh my
Like,
They're
God.
just
This is
playing with
insane.
toys.
Yeah. They also sent over glass ampules that could be stepped on in a crowd to release any of Treichler's powders, a fine hypodermic needle to inject drugs through the cork in a wine bottle, and drug-coated swizzle sticks, because it was like the 60s. You got to have that home bar with the little stir stick.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is a quote from Medium.com. Quote, at the least, Operation Midnight Climax was a failure and an embarrassment for the CIA. It provided inconclusive, unscientific results with scant actionable intelligence applications. It besmirched the reputation of the CIA, both in terms of ethics and practicality, and negatively affected the lives of hundreds of people.
Wow.
Wow.
So the CIA's experiments with LSD persisted until 1963 before coming to a fairly anticlimactic end. In the spring of 1963, a man named John Vance, who was a member of the CIA Inspector General staff, learned about the project's, quote, surreptitious administration to unwitting, non-voluntary human subjects and was like, "We can't fucking do this anymore.
Yeah.
Shut it the fuck down." So though the McUltra directors tried to convince the CIA's independent audit board that the research should continue, the Inspector General insisted the agency follow new research ethics guidelines and bring all the programs on non-consenting volunteers to an end. No consequences. They just had to stop doing it. They did this for over a decade.
They're just
No
like, hey
consequences.
guys, cut
No
it
one
out.
went to jail.
Unbelievable.
They all fucking retired with their pensions. Like, not a thing happened. They were just told, "Oh, no, can't do that anymore."
Oh my God.
Yep. There were real human victims as a result of these programs, including at least one death, that of a scientist who worked with the CIA. I kind of mentioned this earlier, who was given LSD without his knowledge. I don't know if it's the same guy who robbed a bank. I think this is a different person.
Here's hoping. That's a lot of trauma for one person.
It is. Well, and so this person was given LSD without their knowledge, and his experience led him to take his own life. He jumped out of a building. Yeah.
I read that quite a few people who they experimented on took their own lives.
Ended up dying by suicide because they were so psychologically altered after this experience.
Well, though, I mean, just the simple fact of thinking that you're losing your mind because you don't ever get an answer of like, oh, hey, we
you have no idea what
dosed
happened to you. Yeah. So this individual's surviving family has since sued for damages and maintains that their loved one was murdered by the CIA's negligent experimentation, and I totally agree with them.
Same.
Yeah. So though the majority survived these experiments, many suffered permanent mental and psychological degradation, and the true number of whom we will never know because like the CIA, there's very few documents remaining about this time, this like legacy of the CIA. Most of it was destroyed. So that we just won't know a lot of these details. And most of the people that were involved in these experiments are now dead.
God.
Can you imagine
and never talked.
I just can't imagine being on LSD by choice, but I certainly cannot imagine being on LSD like not knowing. Exactly.
Oh my God, it's so scary. It's so fucking scary. I can't. The CIA is fucking nuts.
I wonder if you were accidentally on LSD the time that you watched the Space Needle disappear.
You know what? There's a lot making
That
sense
would check
now.
out.
Yeah.
Well, that is my case, and we have a couple people to thank today. First and foremost, our fan picker, Emily Spindler, for picking this incredible topic.
Yes. This is
And
a
for
big
having
one.
that like badass last name, Spindler.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it.
The Tinder
Spindler's
Spindler.
Yeah.
Okay. Not the best one to go with, but Tinder Spindler is fine. And also,
I was just gonna say,
yes.
I like the idea that she's just a type A person and she's got a to-do list for the day. She calls it Spindler's List.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not problematic. We're fine.
Yeah.
That one's fine. And most thanks in the world to you, Patrick. Tell the world where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, if you want to check out my podcast, it's called True Crime Obsessed. We recap true crime documentaries with humor, heart, and sass.
It's so fucking good, you guys. I can't.
Thank you. You know, we do find some laughs on the margins, but we never make the laughs at the expense of the victim or the crime.
Yes.
You know, that's very important to us. And so you can find us anywhere you get your podcast. You can find True Crime Obsessed Pod on TikTok. I think it's True Crime Obsessed Podcast on the Instagram. And I am on Instagram. It's Patrick Hinds _.
God bless.
And it's weird spelling. It's HIND for David, S for Sam. You know
it's
what
like
I mean?
the hindquarters, the hinds. Yeah.
It's nary an E or a Z in there anywhere. You know?
I love it.
So not the ketchup, the back
Not
legs.
the ketchup. I wish. I would say that's like the Teresa Heinz Carey fortune.
Yeah.
I want
If
her money.
only. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right? Don't we
Yeah.
all?
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you so much, Patrick.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you so
Thanks
much
for
for
having me.
having
When I
us
got
on.
your message asking if I would do this, I was like, oh my God. You had asked me if I could come to your live show, and I wished I could have been
I
there. I
know.
would have been there in a heartbeat. I was
I know
on
you
tour with
would've.
my podcast, too.
I get it. We all got to fucking work. You've got like a goddamn Broadway show. You got shit
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah,
baby.
no shit.
You got shit to do.
Yes.
All
So
right.
thank you for carving out a couple hours for us today.
My
And
pleasure.
We love you. We love all of you
Love
people.
you.
And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.